So, Mark, what's the first thing that someone should do after an accident when they're contacting their insurance company?
Right. So, after an accident, you'll definitely want to, contact your insurance company and, let them know exactly, what took place and, provide a copy of a police report if you're able to get one, if it, was a car accident. And you'll, want to contact an attorney as soon as possible, because they'll be the primary point of contact from there on out between, your insurance company and also the at fault party's insurance company.
Okay. Now, if you contact the insurance company yourself, what is it that you're supposed to provide? Just all the details about the accident and what happened.
Ask you, where it took place, the time, information about you, the other driver, cars, make and model, all that kind of stuff, and maybe a brief description of exactly, what took place. And they'll definitely want a copy of the police report as well.
How do you best document all of that information? Obviously, tensions are high. Maybe right after an accident, or you're kind of upset. You want to just get out of there as soon as possible. How do you document all of those details so that you have the correct information to give to your insurance company?
Yeah, being in an accident can be very stressful. I've been in one myself, and yeah, I mean, when it happens, like you're almost like in disbelief, and you don't know what to do. You're almost like kind of a little bit in panic mode. But it's important to really try and stay calm and document things, the best you can. You know, taking pictures of damage to your car and the other car. Maybe writing down the other party's license plate number, getting their name and information in case they do try and take off from the scene or something like that, and just staying there until the police arrive, so you can give an accurate description of what took place, because all that documentation that you get at the time of the accident is going to help your case later on.
Now, you might get a phone call from the other insurance company, the insurance company of the person who was in the accident with you, who perhaps injured you. What should you say or not say if you get one of those calls?
So unlike getting a call from your own insurance company where you have a contractual really obligation to apprise them of the situation, you don't have that same obligation with the other party's insurance company. So it's best to get an attorney and have the attorney be the primary point of contact between the other insurance company and yourself, so they can be able to relay exactly what took place, what your injuries were, and they can negotiate a fair and reasonable settlement for you.
Otherwise, if you do it yourself, what are some of the things that can go wrong?
Yeah, I mean, if you do it yourself, it's possible you might sort of relay information that's inaccurate about what took place, or something that might, kind of be negative for your case. So just, being able to have an attorney who can present your case to the insurance company, and with all of your records and bills and your injuries and how it's affected you, it's just going to ensure that you get, sort of maximize the amount you'll get, for your injuries.
Do people sort of maybe panic and say, if they say like, "Oh, how are you feeling?" and they might say, "Oh, I'm fine," or something like that, and then the other insurance company's like, "What? You're fine? I thought you were injured," but like it's, even though that might just be like a normal thing that you might say when somebody asks you how you're doing, so those kinds of things could go wrong.
Exactly, because anything you say, to the other insurance company is going to be used against you later on. Whether it's when you're answering discovery or at your deposition or at trial. So it's best to have, an attorney who can sort of relay that information for you. And especially if you're going to be talking to the other party's insurance company, like early on, in the process, you might feel fine, a day or two after the accident, but maybe a few days later, you start to feel really sore, and, things can kind of change. So, it's just best to kind of hold off on talking to them too soon and getting counsel.
Sure. Sometimes a claim might be delayed or even denied. Are there ways to help ensure that doesn't happen to you?
Yeah. So for, claims that you feel like are being delayed, you know, definitely, you want to have an attorney who is constantly, reaching out to the insurance company, the adjuster, and giving them updates on, how you're doing, your treatment, what your injuries are, and just constantly like keeping them apprised, so the claim doesn't sort of get lost, because, a lot of these claims adjusters, they have a lot of, cases that they're working on. So if you can have an attorney who's, constantly updating them and reaching out, it can make sure that it's always sort of on the front burner and it's getting that attention.
So you've mentioned obviously, contacting an attorney, that you think that that's really important. When in the process should you contact attorney? Is it like immediately after the accident, before you even call your insurance company? And are there particular accidents where, yeah, you can probably just handle this on your own without having to, contact an attorney?
After an accident, if you're injured, I mean, the most important thing is to get yourself treatment and get yourself better, and get that. But once you get that treatment, um, you'll want to contact your own insurance company and notify them of what took place, and then it's best to contact an attorney at that point. If you were did suffer some serious injuries from the accident.